now we get to the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be interesting. Tell me a little bit about Humphrey Grace and what he's bringing for the Wildcats for those who've not seen him.
Oh man, Humphrey Grace is a guy that when he first committed to Kentucky, he was out of the FCS. He was at South Dakota.
Hey, kitty.
To get her out of the way. He was at South Dakota, and he really kind of showed what he was capable of. When he came up to the FBS level, he was a highly touted guy that a lot of people wanted. Kentucky ultimately landed him. And last year, I think you got a little bit of a taste of what he could do, but not the full scope of what he wanted to do. I spoke with him. We actually did a feature that I thought turned out pretty well on him and what he wants to do. You know, he said that he's excited for this year with Jay Bateman's defense. They're going to be attacking the quarterback. That's how he wants to play. He said on defense, you know, we should be putting fear into the other team, not the other way around. We shouldn't be trying to respond to what they're doing necessarily. They should be trying to respond to what we're doing. Um, so he's ready to get after the quarterback in terms of what his expectations are for this year. Will Stein, you know, we talked about it with him. He said that's an NFL level guy. He should be playing at the level that's going to get him drafted and drafted relatively highly, if not fairly highly. That's the standard they're holding him to this year. I think he's going to be very, very good. He was probably the best defensive lineman on the team last year. You were able to get him back. You know, getting some of those guys back. I was talking with Bateman, and he told us that for all the wins that they logged in the offseason in terms of bringing in players, he said, I think some of my biggest wins were retaining players. And obviously the one he said that quote to was Ty Bryant at safety. I'm sure we'll get to him. But for the defensive line, Mike Hughes, Humphrey Grace is one of those guys too. As soon as he told me, as soon as Texas A&M lost to Miami in the playoffs, that he was immediately on a plane to get over here to talk with Ty Bryant, to talk with Humphrey Grace, to meet with those guys and make sure that you get those two pillars of the defense back. And then some other guys as well. I mean, there were a few other guys he met with immediately too. Ryan Nichols is another one. But Humphrey Grace was clearly a priority for the defense in terms of getting this team together. They wanted him back, and they got him back. And now this year they're expecting him to be an NFL caliber defensive lineman. He's excited about getting after the quarterback, about playing a more aggressive defense than maybe you saw last year. And I think right now the sky's the limit. We'll see how the season pans out. You know, you never know until the games start getting played. But right now the sky feels like the limit. So I'm excited about that, and excited about what he's going to be able to accomplish this year in Kentucky.
Oh, man. And you mentioned Ty Bryant a little while ago. I'm curious about him. I got a feeling he's a guy that I do not want to be making mad as a Cottonelle.
Yeah, I actually want to try to pull this up for you here because I got a fantastic quote
Oh, let's
um,
see it.
about Ty Bryant from. Yeah, here we go. So I asked Jay Bateman in our one-on-one. I said, you know, Ty Bryant had kind of mentioned when he came back that he had offers on the table. There were a lot of other schools that wanted him, SEC level schools, like big caliber schools that wanted him. He had some big money offers on the table. And I was just asking, you know, Bateman, like, what was it about keeping him there? And he said, first and foremost, Ty Bryant's a Kentucky kid. He came up in Lexington, you know, at Frederick Douglass. He wanted to stay here. But he said, I think this was the quote. He said, when he said, quote, when he says he had a few offers, I think he's being very politically correct. I think there's
Ooh.
65 high level FBS teams. So he had 64 offers. I think everybody in the country wanted that guy. He said, and then the quote goes on a little bit from there. And he said, I think that was my biggest recruiting win. People talk about the recruiting wins we've had the last few months. My biggest one was getting Ty Bryant to stay at Kentucky. I mean, that's a guy that they're expecting. I think even after last year, you know, he's an NFL kind of guy that teams are going to want to get. But this year, again, I hate to just sound like a broken record, but the sky is the limit for Ty Bryant and what he's going to be able to accomplish. He's excited about playing more free. He's excited about being more aggressive. He's excited about trying to, you know, maybe increase some of those interception numbers. And he had some pretty solid interception numbers last year. Um, and I think also too, what Ty Bryant brings is something that you can't coach. He's such a positive kid. I mean, when you talk to him, he's always got a smile on his face. He's super polite. He lights up a room, and he's a great positive influence on any locker room he's a part of. So you have a guy who has the talent to be one of the best on the defense, if not the best on the defense. You have a guy who can really anchor you and make a big play that can, you know, change the course of a game and he impacts you in the locker room by making everyone around, like picking up everyone around him, keeping those guys, locked in. So I think that Ty Bryant, I'm talking when the season ends, his expectation right now should be to be on those award lists. He should be on the all SEC teams. He should be a guy who has not a potential NFL future, but an undoubted, unquestionable NFL future. A guy that, we're going to actually hear maybe make some buzz when it comes time to see who's going to get drafted where. I think that he really can exemplify that kind of player at Kentucky and be a guy who it really just pops off the page. Even if Kentucky loses a game, Sports Center might be talking about Ty Bryant. We'll see. I mean, those are
As
high,
well as they
lofty
should.
expectations, but um, I think that he's a guy that you're expecting to be very good this season, and he's a guy that getting him back was an absolute must for that defense.
And I'm kind of curious about the newcomers on from the portal from defense, like Elijah Barnes, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and Cyrus Rays. How often are we going to be seeing those guys? And how about Mark Manfred the third? And any other key guys I'm missing out on, good buddy?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot. Obviously, when you talk about the defense, the first thing that comes to mind is the guys they got back just because of the level of those players. But they absolutely did get some good guys in the portal too on the defense. I think a guy that I think has actually really, really surprised me too. Another guy coming out of the FCS, though, he kind of he'd be the first to tell you that his recruitment didn't do him the best of favors when he was first going to college. He learned a lot, he grew a lot, he established himself. But Hassan Sykes, out of Western Carolina, he's a corner, I believe, a DB for sure. He's a guy who has already shown us a lot throughout the spring. He had an interception in the spring game that I still think it's an injustice. He didn't get the defense didn't get points for that. But regardless, with the format they were playing, Hassan Sykes had an interception there on a 2-point try in the spring game. He's been really, really good so far. And then you mentioned a couple guys there too. I'll try to pull up the roster here because little bit scatterbrained, but there's a ton of guys on that defense that have done a ton to really stand out in terms of newcomers and what they're going to be able to do on the defense. You talked about some of those guys there. I think that there's a ton of expectations for them. Ahmad Bro, a defensive tackle, he's one that I think could be pretty good coming out of LSU. You get
Man, y'all
Harkless,
get a
Marion
lot of guys from
Harkless.
LSU.
Yeah, I know. There's a ton of guys that are excited for what the defense is going to do. I think when you look at the defense, obviously when Will Stein was hired, so much of the emphasis was put on the offense and lighting up the scoreboard and the QB whisper and all this and that. But bringing in Jay Bateman and obviously he wanted more freedom to coach his defense than he had at Texas A&M. That was a tough situation for him, but he loves Texas A&M. Um, but the defense is also expected to be a high level unit in the SEC in the country. I think that they're really excited about what that unit can do, and I think it can really surprise people because so much of the conversation is centered around the offense. Obviously, you do go in with the knowledge that um, a little bit of maybe a cloud hanging over the defensive line and the defense with some of the tragedy we've seen in this offseason with the passing of Nick Smith. That a really sad situation there, but I think a lot of those guys in that room are ready to prove themselves. I think a lot of those guys are ready to make a splash. And I think that the defense can absolutely be the kind of thing. If the offense is something that's putting points on the board regularly, the defense can be the kind of thing that actually wins you these games in the SEC by making sure the other team can't score points. A lot of people don't know this, but you have to score more points than your opponent to win football games. So limiting what the other team's able to do on the defense is one of the most important things. And I think that defense can really be a difference maker in terms of a few wins and losses this season. And we don't know how many of those there will be, but if they do pick off a few in the SEC, get a few wins, maybe even get to bowl eligibility if that's something they're able to do. I think the defense will be a big part of that and being able to capitalize on what the offense is already doing for you.
Yeah, I mean, like just looking at the schedule, anything can happen. I mean, you got the non-con schedule, that'll be a cinch, but it's like y'all don't have Mississippi State or Arkansas, so it's gonna be tough. Not saying it can't happen, but it's gonna be tough. So it's like, but best part about being down is the way to go is up.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, there's Florida. They're on 2 weeks before rivalry week. So there you go.
Yeah.
Y'all went from being the whipping boys of the Gators to making Florida your whipping boys, getting out the belt, giving them a spanking, especially just taking that alligator skin and spanking them with it. So there you
Mm-hmm.
go. And just kind of like looking at the defense, like, so we got everything out the way on there. But now we get to the special teams. You know, Jacob Cooey. Did I get that last name pronounced correct or
Jacob
no?
Kawe.
Kawe. Okay, like Kiwi, but Kawe.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. I'm looking at his stats, so I've got him pulled up. Like he's really good on the 30 plus yard kits, the 40 plus yard kits. But he's got a 25 percentage from the 2025 season on the 50 plus yard kits. So it feels like to me, don't put him in a position where he's got to kit 50 plus yards. But, you know, Alabama's kicking situation, if you got Connor Talty kicking for you, don't be kicking at the 40 plus yards or the 50 plus yards. But if you got Lorsan Quinn from Marshall doing the 50 plus yard kits or the 40 plus yard kits, you're good to go because he's got some pretty good stats. Like, I think, you know, he had like 100 percentage in the 40 plus yard kits, but he was like 4 of 6 in the 50 plus yard kits from
Mm-hmm.
2025. But let me check. Yep, four out of 6 on the 50 plus yard kits and 5 out of 5 in the 40 plus yard kits. I thought I had something on Quinn because I'm not messing with him. But you also have another kicker from South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
How good is he exactly for those who don't know about him?
We actually haven't heard a ton about him so far. I think the special teams has been the one area that I'm hoping to get a lot more of in fall camp because we've heard less about the special teams with so much of the emphasis being on the new offense, new defense going into a new year and a new era. So I would love to learn some more about them in the fall. I wish I had more better information for you there. On Kawe, I would say um, I've not given up on him so far. I think that there's a couple times that he's been a little bit frustrating, but I also think some of that is situational. He's a guy that came in and had to play as a true freshman, played as a sophomore. And I also think that it speaks to something the defense spoke to us about. Grant Godfrey is a player on the defense, and he said to me in one of our interviews, he said it felt like times last year that we were just trying to. And it was one of those quotes that he gives that maybe someone working for the school was like, "Oh, I wish you didn't say that," but he said it felt like times last year we were just trying to outlast the other team. Like the offense wasn't scoring points, so you were just trying your best to stay alive, stay afloat. And I think that obviously you understand that how it affects the defense, but I think that also affects the special teams too. When you're not scoring points, it puts so much more pressure on every single kick. If you like, there were games last year and even maybe the year before where Kawe was really the only thing they had going for them in terms of scoring points. And that's not a knock on Cutter Boley. He did the best he could, but just the team as a whole was not scoring points at the level it wanted to. So I think that puts a lot more pressure on your kickers, on your anyone on the special teams to kind of make something happen that can add a lot, especially to a young guy like a freshman or a sophomore. I think that on top of that too, there were a few games in there that he didn't quite have the best weather going in his favor. I mean, that's something you hope a kicker can overcome, but you also understand how it can affect one. So I think that there's a lot of reason to still be confident in Jacob Coway and what he's going to be able to do in terms of this offense being able to score more points. I think he was always pretty much money on extra points. That wasn't something you ever really had to worry about. It was just sometimes when the offense couldn't score and you were kind of just marching him out there. Especially one of those situations where maybe you have a bad kick, you have a bad a hold or just an unfortunate situation that caused you to miss one, and then you're like, well, I've got 3 more field goals today. Like it's hard to get out of your head in that situation and really make the most of it. So I think that he should be hopefully improved this year in some of those things. One of the things we heard a lot about him when he committed was his range. He is a guy who has a long kicking ability. It's just, being able to not force him into those situations where he has to do that all the time, because you can't have that be your only offense. You really can't. And then as for the rest, I'm going to do my best with you to get more information on some of those special teams guys, some of those kickers throughout fall camp. Get more sturdy answers for you there. At this guy from South Florida, there's a few other guys they added in the special team side of things that I'm really excited about. So, if we do another podcast previewing maybe the week of or something like that, I'll have a better
Oh,
answer for you. But at this point in time, I wish I had a better answer for you. But right now, I can just
it's
say
all good.
I think that Kawe, there's still reason to be excited about him. He's had a rough go of it so far. Not all of it his fault. Not all of it, a situation you'd want to put your kicker in. So I'm interested to see how the special teams in particular is affected by hopefully having an offense that can put more points on the board than maybe Kentucky fans are used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm excited about what we're going to be seeing. And there's plenty more days till kickoff. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride all right there.
Mhm.
So it's going to be really awesome. And just to give out a reminder, of course, July is here. You know, you might be seeing this video a little bit before the 4th of July, of course. Oops, fourth wall break on Alabama with the Voice College Football once again. But, we just want to give you a reminder that this video on Alabama with the Voice College Football is presented by FanDuel, where you can get top-notch predictions in the world of women's NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, college football, men's and women's college basketball, where you'll get some top-notch odds and you'll find some great spreads, and you'll find out to see what's the line on what's going on with the Red Sox at the moment and what's going to be going on with the Boston Celtics and the over under on the win totals for all your favorite teams in the world of the sports world, including whether you're going to see more 4 overtime games in the WNBA. I mean, hard to believe. Only 2 in its history. I mean, you think there'd be like 4 or 5 like since 1997. Like, good grief.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we got ourselves a wild ride all right here. And Cole, what magic have you got going on at 247 Good Buddy?
Well, right now we're going through. I've got Peach Jam coming up, the big basketball recruiting event in South Augusta. Or North Augusta, whichever one it is. It's somewhere in Augusta, Georgia, South Carolina. Who cares? Peach Jam, big. Everyone knows Peach Jam. So I'll be there for that, covering a lot of Kentucky recruiting and basketball. We've been doing a lot of summer interviews with a lot of the basketball players. So I've had a bunch of features coming out and profiles coming out on some of the new basketball players, what they've been saying to us in those. Got more of those coming up on Thursday with obviously a highly touted one in Milan Momcilovic. Um, and then football fall camp should start hopefully late July, early August. I'm very excited to get back into the football swing
Ooh.
of things, be able to talk to some more of these guys, get some more word on how the summer's gone, how they're excited for the fall, what they're kind of focusing on and getting ready for the season. Obviously, it's a very fun time to look ahead at what's still to come while still navigating the stories that are being told right now. So staying busy over there. Constant stories coming out every single day on basketball, football, anything else you can imagine Kentucky sports. You can find all of my stories over on my X account. That's Cole Park _ WSC, and that's Park with an E. And at thecatspaws.com, that's our 247 site. We post all of our stories there. And if you feel so inclined, be sure to grab our football yearbook. That should be coming in soon. It has previews on every single position group, Q&As that are exclusive with the head coach, both coordinators, stuff on all the coaches, about each opponent Kentucky's going to face this year, conference and non-conference, as well as some extra stuff, if you're interested or in my market, not necessarily your market, but about Kentucky high school and what to expect for some of those teams as well. So it's a huge book. It's great to learn a lot about the team going into the season, really know what to expect, and then we're also getting to work on the basketball one as well for that season as well.
There you go, man. And tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at pubs about the match that you'll be seeing Cole Park bringing at the Cat's Paws for 247 Sports, bringing you his take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Let me tell you something, folks. It's a good time for a long time, all right here. And you can also check me out on my personal channel, Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got some upcoming episodes to Jack saying. I'm not having any for this week because of it being 4th of July, but I think I might be coming. I'll definitely be coming back with some episodes mid-July. That's for sure. But we've got some magic coming your way all right there. And you can also check me out on SEC at the Voice of College Football with Andrew Miller and Tucker Harlan, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday nights. You can check me out right here on Alabama, the voice of college football, Monday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for the Alabama Call-In Show with Jeffrey, the only talk sports, and myself as we take your calls on the Crimson Tide. And you can also check me out on the College Sports Insiders channel with Mountaineer Paul as we go over your college sports teams for college football, college basketball, all right there. And for more updates, what I've got going on in my world, check me out on JacksonVOCFB on X/Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook, Jackson Johnson 543-908. And with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another video whatsoever. And we'll be seeing y'all soon. And roll tide.